we're good.
All right, sorry about that, everybody. We had some technical difficulties doing our best RG impersonation, but another edition of the CBB Fantasy Super Show. If you're just joining us, we have a lot to talk about. Huge slate tomorrow on DraftKings, a 15-game slate on FanDuel. A couple things we want to talk about. Rob was actually in the middle of talking about his sweat on the queue. Basically, you were talking about having Murray left over. I think most people are watching at this point, but if you want to kind of just hash it out real quick and then talk about the Murray part, and we'll keep moving on here.
Yeah, I don't know how many people stayed on, but basically I had Murray left on that team with Anderson, and I didn't realize until I think almost halftime, or maybe it was before, I don't even remember. Basically, I had Oleko, Holder, and Murray chasing me, and they were 16 back of me. So with that, it kind of was, I would put it at like a 20% chance I was going to hold out there because Holder was having the game of his life. I actually had a really good sweat. I lost it with, I think 40 seconds left. Oleko shot 8 free throws in the final 4 minutes, and he made them all. So that kind of hurt. And then I think it was like a garbage rebound that put me over the edge. What was real tilting was the fact that it did go to overtime, and I had a stat correction. Had it not gone to overtime, that would have won me the qualifier. So that actually stung pretty bad. But at the end of the day, it did sting to finish second. I mean, it wasn't as bad as Forsty, where he lost by 0.25, but it was still pretty frustrating. But I think that's the way to go in Qs. That's how I'm going tomorrow. And have a core 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's definitely working. Mini stacking games that you think potentially might be low owned, like you had Ryan Anderson super low owned. I had the Richmond VCU stack super low owned. I mean, we've all been there, and right down to the very end of the last games, within 3 or 4 points are in the lead and just having guys chase you. I got the Chandre Jones career overtime game, and the guy behind me, of course, has Jones as well. If he didn't, I think I might have had a fair shot. So we've all been there, but I think you're right. Mini stacking, 3 or 4 guys from a game that you project to be somewhat high scoring, potential for overtime is definitely the way to go. It's just there's too much variance this year. Trying to pick out 8 guys from different teams and put it all together and have them be the highest scoring guys is just too difficult. I'm just not seeing it this year, at least not in January. This month has kind of continued that way, but back in November and December, things were according to plan. So. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be there again real soon, starting with tomorrow. Nice $20 queue. I think 385 people. They seem to be raising the contestants up, which is good for them, not so good for us. Do you think they're going to continue to keep raising it? Like we're going to see 400, 500 in these queues here pretty soon?
Yeah, I think they're going to keep adding people in. I know the $100 added like 20 people. It does help pay out a little bit of the top spot, so if you do miss, it's not that much of a sting, even in the $100. But yeah, it's going to get a lot tougher. I'm surprised they only have 1 queue tomorrow. They've got 3 monster slates up. So I am pretty surprised that only 1 queue is going up with the 3 slates. They have been running 2 qualifiers, like 3 and 20 or 3 and 100 on Saturdays. So the fact that they dropped it to a 20 was kind of interesting. I know we kind of looked at already Sunday already, and we said the slate's terrible, so hopefully they don't throw one out there Sunday. But yeah, it's going to keep increasing. It's just free money for them. They've already screwed us out of a live final. Why not screw us out of some more rakes?
Yeah, well, now that I start thinking about it, there's only 4 or 5 real playable games on Sunday, and the reason is obviously Super Bowl Sunday, so they're probably not going to run a queue. They did run one last Sunday. That's the one that Forsty won. I think going forward, we'll probably see Sunday queues because the slates are going to be bigger, but for Super Bowl, they probably don't want to, even though it would fill. I don't get it twisted, it would fill, but I think they're probably going to stay away from doing it to play something. The games are pretty atrocious on Sunday, but I'll, of course, still play. In the RotoWire, we did want to talk about there's a Survivor League, an Experts League, if you will. Rob, Dunkel, GSU, Forsty, all the top players, Varnicus, are going to be in a Survivor League that FanDuel is putting on. RotoWire kind of set that up for us. A bunch of RotoWire writers are going to be on that, and it's going to be Survivor style. So if you want to talk about a little bit about the format, I didn't necessarily read the email through and through. Do you want to kind of let everyone know what type of Survivor it is? Kind of, I'm assume prepping us for before the Madness tournament, which is coming up real soon, and then the Madness tournament, which is FanDuel's flagship end of season tournament.
Yeah, so it's a pretty cool thing putting on by RotoWire. Me and you had kind of ran this idea of running a season long, kind of like the Fish Cake King Challenge that NBA has for all their guys, and running it for college basketball. Me and you were pretty busy at work, so we kind of ran the idea by some other people that kind of have some higher up connections than us. They got in contact with DraftKings and FanDuel. I think it was at the FTSA or one of the conferences. And basically, FanDuel kind of said, hey, yeah, we'll run it for you guys, and we'll throw in a free $1,000. So top prize is $250, pays out top 8 spots. Basically, it's just a straight Survivor League. I think there's either 25 or 26 guys, maybe a little less, maybe 23, I don't know. But basically, everyone has 10 entries, and then once you lose, you're out. So I know I was kind of talking to Uncle about it, or Unky about it today, and he was like, are you going to run a straight train of 10 teams or, spread them out? First off, I'm terrible at FanDuel. I'm probably one of the worst at FanDuel. So it's going to be very hard for me to go build a team on a 15-game slate over there. I told him I'm probably going to run two teams, I don't know, 2 5-train teams, I don't know, whatever. 2 teams, essentially, 5 times each. And hopefully get at least 5 of them through. If not, it'll be fun. But yeah, it should be a good time. I joke that a couple of us should all put the same entry in and just try and knock out some of the opposing touts and guys that are probably a lot better than us. But, we'll play it fair and see who can come out on top.
With our luck, we'll end up getting eliminated that way.
Likely.
So I have it pulled up here. $1,000 prize pool. First place gets $250, second $200. So not a lot of difference there. Third gets $150, fourth $100, $75 for fifth through eighth. So I mean that's free money. So that's pretty cool. And we're going to be tweeting about it. I think that Alex from RotoWire and a couple other guys are going to be doing some lineup analysis and writing articles and things like that. So you guys can follow along. Just something to get people excited. I did the listener leagues on FanDuel last year, and I got a lot of good responses. That's how we knew Sox listened, because he joined one of them. So we'll be doing that again. Kind of considering putting together maybe some sort of bracket of our own, where we put, CBB regulars at the 2 seeds, 1 and 2 in each region, and then have listeners kind of fill in the rest and, knock us out. Rob and I will definitely be knocked out in the first round by a listener, but, something fun for you guys to kind of, interact with and do. So, because a lot of people that listen to us are extremely smart, much smarter than me.
Yeah,
so kind of a cool thing.
I'm glad you kind of touched on that bracket thing, because I think that's something that we can easily run. So if people want to get their names in, I will take everyone's name and start putting them into an Excel spreadsheet. Kind of the idea was, obviously there's a 64-man bracket for DraftKings, and you got to qualify to get in. This would be a fun side one. We can do a buy-in from $5 to $25, or even make it free, whatever it is. But basically, if you want to get your name in for it, just send me a direct message or follow me on Twitter and send me a direct message at How the Pros Do It. Give me your DraftKings name. It will not be on FanDuel. And I'll get you locked down. We kind of had the idea of, like you said, I would kind of be probably in the East. Corey would be like Midwest. Stu would be in the South. You and Forsty would be out West. And then we kind of have to fill in, 3 more 2 seeds. And then kind of just random draw everybody. We can do a random draw live. And then basically play the same slate that DraftKings would. It'd be fun to follow along. Again, for our listeners to try and get in. So yeah, we're going to get that started. So if you want to send me your name and get in, it's going to be the first probably 58 people. So we'll announce it every show and start talking about it more.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a cool idea. I think people will be excited for it. And then again, we don't have the chat up. We're still kind of figuring this out. So if you guys have questions or anything you want to say, you can tweet at us at WDeuces85 or at How the Pros Do It. We will answer your questions live. I think there's a little comment bar. I can't see it, but Rob can. So if you guys have any comments or anything, I know we get funny comments each time we do this. We'll read those live on air as well. And then possibly if Dunkel, he had said he might be coming on later on. He would be possibly drunk. So Uncle Drunkle, he's been on the show before. He's quite a character. We might get him on, and then I think Forsty might jump on and give us some analysis as well.
That's if we can figure it out.
Right? Is there? Well, the picture's good, so we're winning right now. Is there any other topics you want to cover before we jump into the slate? Let me grab it here real quick.
I think that's pretty much it. I know my buddies, the Stella twins, have been frustrating a lot of people because they've been winning a lot. So that's been pretty tilting. I know one of my tout friends wanted to post his picture to the wall and just throw a sledgehammer through it. So I kind of feel the same way, seeing him at the top of every qualifier and just buying it out. So hopefully tomorrow he doesn't get a seat and he doesn't get any more seats. And then when DraftKings does a random draw, they magically find each other on the same side of the bracket or same first-round matchup. But it's kind of hard to do that when you have the same addresses, so they'll probably separate them. But so yeah, let's dig into some games because this is a monster slate and there are a lot of ways to go.
It is, and we'll kind of intermittently, I have the FanDuel pricing pulled up, kind of mention some guys that are actually cheaper on FanDuel for once. There's actually quite a bit of difference on some of these guys, so we want to talk about that as well. Let's talk about the first game, which was Boston College and Louisville. Of course, the big news today was Louisville doing a self-imposed ban of the postseason, which I am adamantly against. I got some pushback from some people in DMs and in my G chat about how I need to think about how they perceive. They're trying to do a peace offering to the NCAA. They've got a whole team and recruits that they got to think long term, and I get that. I totally understand. But it's not fair for them this close to the tournament to do that to Trey Lewis and Damian Lee, who, had they known this in the summertime, because they could have, when the story broke, I guess maybe around that time or maybe after that, maybe they didn't know this was going to happen, sure. But they should have waited until after the season then, because it's not fair to do this to two graduate transfers who came to Louisville with the idea that they were going to make the tournament. I mean, Louisville was probably going to win the ACC. If not, they were going to be pretty damn close because I think Duke's pretty soft this year. We were kind of seeing them get pushed around. I think Louisville might have been the favorite to win. And now Damian Lee doesn't get that opportunity. Trey Lewis doesn't get that opportunity. Everybody else on Louisville is an underclassman, so they'll come back. I wanted to kind of ask you about your opinion of that because I see both sides. I personally think they should have waited and let these kids play. I know a lot of people say, well, this is a peace offering. I think the NCAA has been on record saying if you self-impose, they don't take that into consideration before they do some sort of, banning of their own or whatever they decide, scholarships, take away a championship, whatever it is. What's your opinion on self-banning and specifically what Louisville's done to these two guys?
I think it's terrible. I think the NCAA is an absolute fucking joke. It's just sad that there's not one person there that has 1 ounce of common sense to figure out like who to absolutely punish. On one hand, you have the NCAA who's just making millions off these kids. You have Louisville who's making all this money from the season off these kids continually. And then what happens to Patino? Nothing. You're going to lose a couple scholarships. He may leave after a couple of years because they're going to be terrible. But he's still getting paid his millions. And these kids now, a lot of these kids, their goal in college is to play in March. I saw it firsthand seeing Butler make it 3 years that I was there, and 2 of them were national championship runs. Some of those guys that didn't even play on Butler's team, got rings. They had the experience. I would pay anything to be a bench warmer, if I'm on Monmouth's bench or, whoever it is to get into the 15 seat. And there's a reason these guys transfer. They transferred legit. You look at what's his face from IU that transferred from Michigan. I don't know why his name's blanking me right now because he was mine.
Bealfield?
Yeah, Bealfield. What happens if IU went down for something for Crean? It's a legit transfer, and now the NCAA is coming down, or even Louisville, I guess, self-imposed this. It's a big fuck you to those players. And I think, SMU is clearly getting screwed over here, especially this year. That obviously they're not undefeated anymore, but it's still something that, it sucks. But it happens in football. It happens in obviously basketball. But never once have you seen these coaches get screwed. Boeheim sat for 7 games. Who gave a shit? Larry Brown the same way. And this isn't his first go around cheating. These guys, Patino's the same way. These guys are notorious for having incidents. But at the same, like, why not ban them? Here's my thing, and this will probably get a lot of people laughing and mocking me. Pete Rose is banned for baseball, like banned from the Hall of Fame, banned for everything. Why not do that to Patino to college basketball? Why not do it to Larry Brown? Like, why not do it to these people that work for Louisville? Why not give them any of the profits? All this money should go to the kids. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the right answer is. But what they're doing by not letting them play in the tournament is stupid. Take away scholarships, do whatever, wait till they leave. These guys had no part of this. No part of it.
No, and I bet you if instead of doing these self-imposed bans and punishing kids that had nothing to do with this because they weren't even there when it happened, if you said to Patino or one of these coaches, Calipari, when this shit happens, you're not getting paid for the rest of the year, I bet you this shit would not happen anymore. If you start taking away these guys, millions of dollars that they make, they're probably going to do things the right way, and they're probably going to run a clean program because as is right now, self-imposed bans are not working. Taking away scholarships are not working. They are still doing stuff like this all the time. And I think the only way at this point to get them to figure it out is to take money away from the administration because at this point NCAA is broken. I don't know if the answer is necessarily paying the players a whole bunch of money, but give them some sort of stipend. Make it so that they can make money off something like, when they used to make college basketball video games, how awesome was that, right? I used to own every single college basketball video game for every system, and I still am like super sad that we don't have that. Why not allow them to get some money for that, right? I mean,
those were the greatest PlayStation 2 games on the face of this earth.
God, the best.
Just taking the absolute worst team at like 308th, and you could like run the table undefeated and not even make it to the top 25 and barely make it in the tournament. Like the AI on that game was like so terrible it didn't know what to do. But yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a sad situation. Like they're completely punishing the wrong people. It's just sad because I think the biggest thing and the biggest gripe that Louisville or these guys have is you look at what happened in North Carolina, and I think nothing happened. And it's just mind-boggling that it's like, why are they picking out Louisville? Because Louisville's doing this basically hoping that the NCAA takes it easy on them, which is probably not going to happen. Because usually when you do a self-imposed ban, like they're going to bring the hammer on you. So yeah, I would wager Patino doesn't have his job by the end of the year.
That might be the case. I think had he been coaching at another school, I think he'd probably have gotten fired already. He's just not figuring it out. So you gotta do something. Seems like the only coach they've ever really dropped the hammer on anywhere was dude that was taking pictures with the college girls, coaching over at Colorado State now. Stacy's the man, and he got a hammer drop for dancing with girls. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, he at least is drinking with the students out there and partying with them.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But I digress. The reason I wanted to talk about that a little bit, not only to get your opinion, but also I'm a little leery about this game. Prior to the news, I thought, Louisville, they're going to shit kick Boston College. This is going to be a good game. I can get some value. Snyder, who I don't ever like, is cheap. He's kind of tempting. Donovan Mitchell at 4-5, damn, he's tempting because he's a star in the making for sure. Onuaku, what do we do with Onuaku? 7-7. I think he'll be a popular play. But here's the thing. Are they going to come out super inspired, pissed that they're not going to play in the tournament and just crush Boston College? Or are they going to come out flat? Are they going to, get beat up on, miss shots, get beat in transition? I don't know. I don't know how Patino is going to have them. He's going to have to give one hell of a pregame speech in this one. And because of that, I'm pulling back a lot. I know people are looking at Louisville and thinking they're going to get a lot of points, but personally, I'm a little skittish about this one. I don't think I'd be running any of them in cash. On a Q team, maybe. One thing I would be looking at in a Q is Boston College guys. I know A.J. Turner, that name's popped up a couple times. He's 4K for Boston College. The last 3 games he's played about 30 minutes. Kind of a bust last game against Virginia, but it's Virginia. He potentially could be somebody, doesn't get in foul trouble you look at. I personally won't be on him. And then another player that people have been asking me about at 3-7, Sammy Barnes-Tompkins. He's been getting over 20 minutes the last two. Even against Virginia in garbage time, he had 20 fantasy points. So it's a road matchup. I think there are other matchups you can possibly exploit, but he has to be in the conversation for value when you're talking about it. What do you think, man? Are they going to come out good? Because if I knew for sure they'd come out raring to go, I'd probably take two of them. And Donovan Mitchell at 4-5 is somebody I really want to use tomorrow because I think he'll get garbage time, but I really can't pull the trigger.
Yeah, I think they're GPP only. I say that because I have no idea how they're going to come out. I was really hoping like one of the players would come out and say something like Lee or Lewis on Twitter to kind of give an indication of it was like, fuck the media, we're going to blow them out, or we're going to boycott and not play. I kind of lean the later way. I mean, Boston College is really bad, really bad. But I kind of think that they hang with Louisville in this game for some reason. I don't know why. I don't see Louisville coming out fired up. I just can't trust any of them in cash. I would love to play Damian Lee tomorrow. I would love to play Anawaku. I'd love to play Trey Lewis, Mitchell, any of those guys. Probably even the Egyptian Mahmoud. I can't trust him in cash. I have no problem rolling them out in a qualifier or a GPP, a couple of them, because they're going to blow. If they come out firing, they're going to beat BC by probably 40, and BC probably won't break 40. But I mean, Boston College put up what was it here? 47 versus Virginia, I think. The only guy I'm looking at, and I'm probably going to be called crazy for this. I have Barnes, Thompson, and cash tomorrow. Ooh. So here's my reasoning: 3-7 on a very large slate against a defense that's equally as tough. He put up 20.5 fantasy points. Granted, he did have 12 real-life points in the first half, and only had 2 in the second half at Virginia. So clearly he's a freshman that he can play on the road. He's got a minute boost the last 4 games. And I think, what's-his-face, Robinson was clearly out for the Virginia game, and so he's clearly going to get probably 25 to 30 minutes. He may get even more minutes in a blowout. Again, if I think that Boston College is going to keep this game close, which I kind of do, he's only got to get me 8 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist to make 5x. I think I'll take that on a 15-game slate. I think he's very GPP viable because the team that I built around him is an absolute monster.
Fair enough. I do think that, like I said, I've been getting a lot of questions about him. I'm not 100% sold, but at 3-7, you don't need a whole lot, so that's a good call. I mean, Ken Palm's got it as a 21-point underdog. Is the Vegas line out yet for this?
Let me get that pulled up here in just a minute. Sorry.
I think Corey was saying it was like 20 because he was talking about bending on Boston College because he thinks they're going to come out flat, which
that's
tough to say.
Yeah, man. It's Boston College plus 21.
Wow.
I think they do come out flat. I don't know. I'm trying to think how did SMU play when they found out? I forget. I remember they were on the slate. They did well. I mean, they didn't lose until recently, right? So, your buddy Scott wants to donate for live chat. It's not that we don't have the money to pay for it; it's just we don't know how to do it. We do. We just haven't hooked it up to our computer yet to figure it out.
Yeah, we just haven't had time. It's coming though. But yes, I will definitely take some money in our PayPal's like right now.
I'll only use it for playing in qualifiers, kind of like most touts do when they get their subscription money. So if you want to donate to the Rob Qualifies, you're more than welcome.
I keep hitting up Johnny. I tell him that he can have part of the seat, but he's been gone. I think he's grounded from his internet privileges because I haven't seen him
Yeah,
lately.
I haven't heard from him, so he's either holed up in the Wynn Casino betting all his money on the Broncos or something.
Oh man. Did he like? Oh shit, this is hilarious. Okay, so as far as Louisville goes, I'm not a huge believer in them tomorrow. It sounds like you're not. Onuaku, prior to this information, I was pretty big on, but I think I'll probably look elsewhere. Somebody's going to be brave enough to still go here. Somebody that has additional entries, and probably be rewarded. So there's value to be had here. If you predict it correctly, you could be winning the seat. So next game on this one, and this is going to be a heavy target for me. Typically, I haven't been using Cincinnati a lot lately. I know. Friend of the show Russ is a big Cincinnati fan. They're projected to beat Memphis on the road 73-71. Thank you. um, and basically, I've been targeting against Memphis like all year. Um, they are super fast this year. They don't play a great amount of defense. You saw against Connecticut, everybody gave me a hard time for the Connecticut stack, but they gave up in the second half, and Connecticut just ran them ragged. They were getting easily uncontested fast break buckets. So in this one, I look at Gary Clark at 7.5 and on FanDuel, he's 7.9. This is an opportunity to get him still cheap. It is a pay up as his price has gone up, but if you look at his log, he's very solid. There's little chance he's going to get under 30 fantasy points. Now, in the past, it's been I take Octavius Ellis, Gary Clark goes ham. I take Gary Clark, Octavius Ellis goes off. But I'm not really scared. The last time he had a bad game was back on December 29th against Temple, where he had 14 fantasy points. He's very consistent. He's going to get boards. He hasn't been getting in foul trouble this year, while Octavius Ellis has, and I suspect Ellis will probably get Goodwin if I'm correct. So I like Gary Clark quite a bit. Troy Capwan is, I believe, what is he, 6'7" here, and I think he's right around the same, 6'5", 6'6" on FanDuel. I'll be having a lot of shares of him on FanDuel. I think a lot of people will probably be chasing him. He is prone to bad games, but this is against Memphis. He's going to get a ton of assists in this one. He's averaging just under 5 assists. I like him for a 30-plus fantasy point game, and at 6'7", going to be hard for you to fade. Ellis at 5'9", I mean, this guy was touting like, what, 7'5", 7'9", almost 8K player last year. He's had foul issues, so he is a bit of a concern for me. He could potentially hit 40 tomorrow. He really, really could at 5'9". That's huge, but he's not safe at all for cash. Jacob Evans at 4'8". I don't know Shaq Thomas's official status. I think he ended up playing the other day. He played 17 minutes, got a 1.3 rebounds. He can do that. He can also get 18 points and 6 rebounds. So at 4-6, if you want to gamble, I think a Cincy stack is probably viable in the queue. We just talked about mini stacking games. No reason why you can't roll 4 of these guys out and hit big. And then the other one, like I said, Jacob Evans at 4'8". If Shaq Thomas isn't full strength, he's in play. He's got 20-plus fantasy points over the last 4. And then Russ's boy is Farad Cobb. He likes him a lot. That guy jacks up 3 after 3 after 3, so he is in play as well. Memphis side of the ball, I don't target Cincinnati. I'm going to stick with that, so no Memphis players for me. Pretty much anyone wearing a Bearcats jersey tomorrow is in play for me, except DeBerry, who is very, very high on someone's value sheet. I don't use DeBerry, but what do you feel about this game?
Yeah, after seeing what UConn did to Memphis, and hearing a couple of my friends say they wanted to take Memphis players, I will befriend or defriend anyone who plays any Memphis players tomorrow. You deserve what you get by playing them. So we'll start out with that. Call Payne is the one that I'm looking at this game at 6'7". UConn just absolutely torched them. He lit up Memphis for 37.75 fantasy points. He went from 25, 3, and 4 against them. Obviously, this is going to be a little bit on the road. 6'7" is a little bit high that I want to pay for him. He does have a little bit of inconsistency in his game, so he does have a pretty low floor. And I found a lot of that out on Thursday night slate. I like Cobb at 4.9. He's definitely some good salary relief. I've got a couple other guys in the 4K range that I like a little bit better. Evans, I'm pretty high on. For GPPs. Again, you can rotate these guys in, and I wouldn't have a problem. If you were stacking a game in a $3 queue, I would just take the Cincinnati starting 5, and I think you'd be okay. I can never get Clark and Ellis right. and so I just kind of stay away from there. I think Ellis is a little he carries a lot of risk. Clark is probably a very safe cash game play tomorrow. If you're looking to go that route, he should absolutely destroy Memphis. I know he only had 7-4 and 1 against them. He had 4 blocks and 2 steals. So that kind of inflated his fantasy total. He's been a monster as of late, and he was in foul trouble in that game. So if he does stay out of foul trouble, he should have a good chance to reach value tomorrow. But for me, it's the guards tomorrow. Roy Copain or Copain. I could be rolling him in cash.
Oh, it's totally viable. He's only 6.3 on FanDuel. I think he's going to be super popular. I cannot see any way he doesn't get at least 30 fantasy points for right around 4.5x. I'm not going to reveal my survivor team, of course, but I'll reveal one. He will be on it. There's no way I won't be using him in the survivor. I think a lot of the experts are going to have him on his roster, and I think if you don't have him on your roster in survivor, you're going to be way behind tomorrow. However, if he busts, then I guess you can jump ahead, but I don't see it.
Maybe we'll just end up with the same teams and just build it on the show tonight.
We probably should, yeah, and then just have everyone make it to the next round, right?
Yep.
So yeah, no Memphis for us, but I'm like you said, you can roll out every Cincinnati guy out there, starting 5 and even Evans, and do pretty well tomorrow. I'm 100% certain of that. Next game, Florida State and Wake Forest. I always like Devin Thomas. I'm probably the biggest Devin Thomas fan there is. He's out of my range on DraftKings at 8.9, which is unfortunate because I don't mind the matchup for him at all. He's 8-4 on FanDuel there, and he's a lot closer for me. I think he's a pretty good chance to get 40 fantasy points on FanDuel tomorrow against Florida State, unless Boris decides he wants to be a lockdown defender and go ham like he's been doing. So he's out of play on DraftKings at 8.9. I think there's a lot of other options around there and in the 7K range instead of him. But just so you know, he's price dependent on FanDuel. I like him there. Dwayne Bacon, I know, is a guy that's going to be popular. You like him. He's 7.6. He's sizzle tomorrow, right?
He is sizzle, but as I made it through this monster slate, I've got some other guys that I think are going to sizzle just a little bit more.
Okay, yeah. I don't like him as much on FanDuel at 7.6, but on DraftKings, he's the same price on DraftKings, but with pricing the way it is there, he's okay. Wake Forest is bad on defense. We know that. There's just so many other games. I don't hate this game by any means, and I will be having some Devin Thomas shares on FanDuel, but as I look through it, the other player, Cody Miller-McIntyre, I know you won't be using. He's 5.6 on FanDuel. He's 5.3, and it's so crazy to think because I think he was pushing 9K on FanDuel last year, or pretty certain. He was pretty close to that. I know that he's fallen off very, very hard. He's not as good as he once was. Something's clearly wrong there. I don't know if that is an injury he's hiding, but he did play 36 minutes last game. He shot 10 times, had 19.5 fantasy points at 5.6. So. Against Florida State, he's not a bad play, really. Probably slightly better on FanDuel at the 6.3 tag or the 5.3 tag. But I probably won't have any shares. I know Rob will own all of those. Mitaglu Mitaglu is 5.1. He was another guy that came on strong last year. It's just weird. Wake Forest they've taken a step back. They really have not gotten better like I thought they would. I thought with Manning they were going to take a monster step. I saw a game with them earlier in the season against Bucknell, and Bucknell was running them. They ended up winning that game, but Bucknell really exposed them, and they just haven't been good. The only other player I want to talk about in this game, because I won't be using Beasley even though I love him, he's only 7.2, Boris Bonjavosky at 4.6. Let me see what his FanDuel price is real quick. He's 4.9. He's been getting it, man. He has been getting it. He might be a decent play. Wake Forest gets beat down low. Last game against North Carolina State, he had 27 fantasy points, 8 points, 9 boards, and 3 blocks. He could certainly get some blocks if he scores any points tomorrow with Thomas off the court and rebounding-wise. I think he might make value. He's probably better on FanDuel at 4.9. Do you have any Boris shares tomorrow, and what else are you doing with this game?
At first, I plugged in Bacon right away. 7.6 is still a very reasonable price for him to pay for him. Like you said, both these teams I think are top 50 or top 60 in tempo. So it's going to be very quick. Wake's defense is absolutely terrible. I always worry, though. I feel like I'm getting burned on taking guys on the road. So it is a big worry for me to take Bacon in this matchup, although it is a very juicy matchup. Beasley at 7.2. Again, we're gonna get to a couple of guys that I think just have a. He's probably safe for cash for 3-4x. Has a very good floor, but I'm just not gonna use him tomorrow. I'd love to use Raytheon Mays tomorrow. I was talking about this with a couple people. He's got a 40-50 burger coming, and I just hope I can find the game that it happens on. He had one against UNC in the beginning of January, and I think he's got one more coming. I'm just hoping the price just can dip down a little bit more. I know there's a couple blogs I was reading. He was having a lot of issues with the coaches. Wasn't buying into the system this year. Basically, with Bacon kind of taking over the team. He took 30 shots last year, and so going from alpha dog to kind of third on the totem poles, it's probably tough for him to swallow. 0 shares of Cody Miller McIntyre. He's got to show that he's going to be more consistent. Like you said, I think he was pushing 9K last year. So to see him at 6'5" is just at 5'6", is just screaming to be taken. Booker at 5'2" isn't too bad. His minutes have decreased a little bit, which kind of worries me. Especially since he had a lot of good games against tougher competition. He's kind of slowed down here, so I'm going to kind of be off him because, again, there's a couple more plays at his range. From Wake's Forest side of the ball, I never played Devin Thomas. I think he's too inconsistent. I know you're a big fan of him. I think tomorrow's going to be a tough matchup for him. I don't mind Boris. I actually 6. Really, to make value, he's only got to get you about 18 points, and 8 points, 9 boards gets you there. So I can see him easily doing that. There's really nobody again on the Wake side of the ball. Mitiglu, he's priced where he was last year, but he definitely doesn't have the production. I'm not taking the captain Cornelius all over the place. There's just nobody that really stands out besides Bacon at me for this game. Right now, I had him in a cash lineup, and I took him out as I was building it as we're going through the show. I think he's very, very GPP friendly, but I don't know if he's going to make the cut for cash because I got a couple coolers that you're going to be pissed about that I found.
Oh, great. I already know where you're going to go. That's a good call on Xavier. He's a stud. We saw him last year. He was alone last year, so he had to do more. But that game could possibly come. If it was at home against Wake Forest, I'd probably have a share of him. But on the road, you're right. That's an excellent call out. I've been in years past, it didn't seem to matter, but the road matchups I've been going heavy on, and it's been burning me lately, whether it be 2 quick fouls on a guy that never fouls. There's been times where GP on the road has gotten called for 2 fouls uncharacteristically. Andrew Andrews, who never fouls. It seems like the refs are calling fouls on road opponents a lot more this year, so I do have to be cognizant of that. While I like a lot of FSU guards, it's just I don't have the room for them tomorrow. I already have my core group. I think I mentioned to you, even though it's a 12-game slate, there's about 5 games I'm really targeting. This isn't one of them. But Boris at 4-6 is really tempting. At 4-9 on FanDuel, I think I'm probably going to have him in some places because I think he can get to 20 pretty easily if things break right and he stays out of foul trouble. And the Ken Palm projection on this game is somewhat high, 81.78. He's got Florida State by 3. So there's going to be some points on the board for sure. Everybody talking about my clothes, apparently. This next game here, George Washington and VCU. I'd been talking days prior to this, beginning of the week, that I had hoped there was going to be an A-10 game on the slate. There was a couple during the week. There was I think Richmond plays UMass tomorrow. Had that game been on the slate somehow, there would be no other choice but to fully stack that because both teams are fast and don't play defense. Didn't get that one, so I'll have to settle for the G-Dub game. This one's going to be fun. Now, VCU's been on the slate a lot. They play really quick this year. They're a top 100 team in pace. They're projected to win 77-67 per Ken Palm. Can you give me the Vegas total on that game real quick if you have it handy?
Yep. 1 second here. George Washington. It is. They're not up yet. Usually totals don't come up until the morning.
be curious to say what they actually say. It is in VCU's house, so that Ken Palm projection would scare me slightly. I'm not going to go full crazy stack like I would if they were playing Richmond, but there are players on this that I really like. VCU had mentioned in DM, they get beat by guards a lot. Tyler Kavanaugh at 7-3 is just way too good. He's like the best cash game option on the board pretty much every time he's on the slate. He did only have 23 last game against Davidson, but 28, 38, 28. I mean, he averages right around 30 fantasy points a game, and at 7-3, that's really all you can ask for. I think he does more tomorrow. I think Ali Cox is going to get neutralized tomorrow. I don't think he's going to have a big game. I think he's going to get in foul trouble. Kavanaugh's pretty good at drawing fouls. I know you're a big Kavanaugh fan, so at 7-3, he's a huge play. I like Kevin Larson at 7-1. Both those guys, they're super consistent. I mean, you could probably roll a mini stack of this game in cash. That's how confident I am in this game. And I'm kind of, we talk about being, you're the Keelan Martin whisperer and whatnot. I'm the A10 whisperer, so I feel this game is going to end up being closer than was projected on last Ken Palm. Patricio Garino at 6'2", he's becoming one of my favorite players every time he's on the slate. He's a really hard-nosed player, plays excellent defense, gets to the foul line, shoots three-pointers. You look at his game log, there's not a lot to hate on there. So those three are my favorites. Joe McDonald at 5'3", he's always a cash game option. Not a ton of upside, but definitely in play. And then the Yuta, this is somebody that Forsty likes, Yuta Watatambe. I figured it out in the queue that I almost won. Had I switched to him over McDonald and moved off Klein, I would have won because he ended up getting 30 fantasy points. And that really reignited him because he's taken a lot more shots the last three, getting the foul line a lot, and getting a lot more rebounds. So he's somebody who averages right around 18 fantasy points, but again, he has 35-point upside. There's a lot to like because VCU, while it says on the numbers they play decent defense, and they do, you can't exploit them and beat them because they do get into foul trouble. And then the other guy in play is always Melvin Johnson at 7-8 because his usage rate is so high. I mean, look at his shot attempts, 16, 19, 18, 19, and a lot of those are three-pointers. So he's somebody that is always in play. He can start slow, but he jacks up so many shots that it really doesn't matter. George Washington is mediocre at best at defending the three. So nothing to really be too scared about. Johnson, Kavanaugh, Larson, Garino, you can pretty much take your pick. If you want some mid-tier value, Justin Tillman at 5'1" is okay. He's somebody that I was riding at around 4'4", 4'9", but tomorrow against the G-Dub Bigs, probably not the best spot for him. I believe Burgess is still out, so Jaquan Lewis at 6'1" has been a popular play. Was in foul trouble last time, only got 16 minutes, but if he's on the court, he's somebody who is a definite viable option. With that being said, in the queue, I will have a full game stack of this game. What do you think about this one, man? Oh, it looks like I lost Rob, so I'm either gone or I'm by myself. Okay, so I have no idea. I have no idea if I'm on the air or not, so let me just pull it up real quick to check. Since Rob just got kicked off. All right, so I don't know if I'm on the air. I'm going to go ahead and I think move to radio at this point, so you guys give me a second to do that and we'll finish up.